All right, guys, welcome back to the World Championship Series, European Premier League, as we now have our second series on the way for you. It's going to be StarDust versus Cass, and personally, I am very, very excited to see these two people play against one another.
Yeah, this should be a good game. Of course, it's Cass. It's Empire Cass up there with Happy. He's always been known as one of the better Terran players in Europe. He's the destroyer of worlds for some. He was nicknamed that a long time ago, but can he do it today? He's coming from Challenger League, a place where he shouldn't really be coming from, to be honest. Cass is a fantastic player. He's been playing the game for 12 hours a day for 3 years straight. He deserves at least better than coming from Challenger League. He's not a Challenger League caliber of player, but he is going up against a player that obviously has been around in the shadows for a long time, but all of a sudden in the summer of this year at DreamHack, he went, boop, StarDust, I am StarDust, everyone, and I am a winner.
He certainly is, and well, we can tell you all about that as we get into game number 1, and spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner here as our blue Terran, representing Empire as well as Russia, he is Cass. And up to the top left-hand corner, our red Protoss, representing my insanity as well as Korea, he is StarDust.
The better Protoss win. All right, well, of course, Cass played in Season 1 of the World Championship Series in the Europe Premier League. He was in a group with TLO, Naniwa, and Shuttle. His first game ever in the World Championship Series was against TLO, which he lost, and then lost versus Shuttle in a TVT. And then, to be honest, because the StarCraft scene is so about the World Championship Series, we just haven't seen Cass in a while now. And he's been very active, of course, but in the big scene of things, he hasn't been doing, hasn't been crushing any big DreamHack events that we've seen over the last couple of months or doing anything else.
Yeah.
But he's back in the Premier League, and now it's time to say, this is where I belong. I must advance.
He's been plugging away, I gotta say. He's a bit of a contrast to someone like Slivko, who is a big, scary, muscly bear guy. Cass is a happy, cuddly bear. He is a very, very cool fellow. But on the other side of things, StarDust is a player that in the WCS system, we haven't seen him in WCS Premier. This is his first time here. But in the WCS system, if you account for all of the series in DreamHack's Tier 1 events, Tier 2 events, currently he is sitting at 29 Series 1 and 4 Series lost. This is why on Twitter I dubbed him Oblivion, as he steamrolls, he absolutely obliterates his opponents with very, very abusive, aggressive styles, and sitting at, what, an 87% win ratio across all matchups right now in this system. That is a scary thing to go up against.
I've seen a lot of StarDust games over the last couple of months. In this matchup, he plays a greedy style. And that what we'll probably see, I think it's going to be like, from the games that I've seen him play at least, he likes one gate expansion, which is happening here.
Yeah.
For the fast robo, like normal. For the fast forge. And he also loves an early Twilight Council. And he does this with Blink, and it could be for a fast third base, which is the greedy side of things. But depending on what he scouts and how he feels the game is going, can immediately turn one gate expansion with a robotics facility, forge, and Twilight Council into a 2-base all-in with Blink and Colossus play. So he's obviously shows greedy play, but also has the capability to be very deadly. And against Cass, I think that playstyle is probably the best style against Cass, because Cass is known for being a greedy Terran player, for focusing very heavily on his economy, cutting corners wherever he can to get the best advantage he can get set up. And for example, if an unscouted, undetected third Nexus was to arrive in this game, let's just say that happened, I think Cass would be in trouble. I don't think he's a player that would have the star sense to see it coming. And it's been one of the weaknesses which him and Happy both share, is where if you blind counter or counter their build, they don't have anything to deal with it because they don't scout or see it coming. But look at this, a Reaper. That's one little thing we don't see at this timing very often from Terran players. This Reaper is for exactly what I just said, scouting.
Yeah.
It can go in and can see one gate Robo, one gate Twilight Council, the Forge, it'll see everything if it gets there.
And that probe did get denied. The Stalker's going to head forwards, but I like what you said about, you know, the way that players like Cass or Happy do try and adapt, because StarDust is a guy that, as of late, up against Terrans, has ran up against a lot of these Russian Terrans that, you know, have very, very similar styles to one another. He was able to beat Happy twice, 2-0 and then 2-1 as of late, and also able to beat Bratok 2-0. So he has a lot of, if he, you know, reads into those kind of stylistic mentalities of these kinds of players, he has a lot of power behind him, I would say.
Look at the Reaper. It's gone unscouted. It hasn't been spotted at all, and it should get into the main base to see the Forge and the robotics facility. I don't think it's going to see any other tech structure, because StarDust obviously isn't just going to throw it down in front of the Reaper's face. But he sees the early Forge, he sees the early Robo, and he's looking for the gases on the natural. Sees one, doesn't see the other, but can guess the other. So it does look kind of normal from now. But to be honest, that Reaper, as good as a scan it was, it didn't get the best setup. And there's the Twilight Council as described earlier. Like, this is all off one gateway. All the Reaper did was say, all right, there's no fast 2-base all-in coming. Like an Immortal Bust or Gateway Bust. So it's going to be a longer game, but how long?
How long indeed. You know, as you rightly pointed out, the strength in StarDust is the fact that, you know, he can just flip the switch if he wants to, in terms of going for that aggression. And look at this, already throwing down the Robo Bait as well. Again, all off one gateway. So this is a very, very heavy tech focus. If he were to catch his opponent with Blink and Colossi, do you think that he could do a lot on these two bases, or is this just straight for the third base?
I think this will be third base.
Okay.
He cannot go for a 2-base all-in when Cass has not been disturbed at all. So I expect it to be the third base, and this is kind of what I thought I'd see from StarDust, because this is how he's been playing recently, and I'm happy to be able to share this with you. And it looks like it will be the third base. So from this position, though, he actually, upon getting the Observer in there, seeing that Cass has not played super greedy, decides to throw down 3 extra gateways. I still don't think this is going to be for a bust, because his opponent's got up to 5 barracks, which has not been spotted yet. But he knows that his opponent hasn't been slowed down and will build Vikings straight after these medivacs. I expect that these 3 gateways coming down, or the 4th one now as well, is probably just saying, I want to have units because Cass is playing straightforward. He's got a lot of units out, and the medivacs are going to be coming soon. And that third base, without these extra gateways, probably not enough to be able to defend across all 3.
Yeah, he has to spread himself very thinly, and Cass is going to try and drop on multiple angles here. But he sees his opponent's army. He will see these 2 medevacs as well at this particular time. So now he knows that the threat is looming. He knows it's there. So how well is StarDust going to distribute himself?
We'll see. I mean, he's confident in defending this, right? Otherwise, he wouldn't have thrown the 3rd Nexus down.
Yeah.
But let's see if he actually can defend it. He will have Blink. The 3rd Nexus is not where Cass is expecting it, so Cass may just think that this is off 2 base.
Yeah, he's looking to land his factory over at that anticipated 3rd location at least. And, well, +1 weapons is on the way as well for StarDust. So he's going to have 1-1 pretty soon. 2nd starport goes down a bit quicker than I was expecting for Cass. But, you know, he saw his opponent's Colossus. He wants to deal with those. Vikings, very nice.
Yep, going to increase that Viking count to be able to deal with this. But so far, very good game from both players. No one's really dealt any blows to each other. They've played the builds out nice. But Cass is about to drop 2 medevacs worth of units on this Nexus. The Colossus must get there. Otherwise, he could lose. The Pylon could lose the Nexus. But he is going to get pushed away here.
Yeah, the Colossus reinforce, and tries to blink forwards, does not get the medevac in the end.
And now Cass knows that he can't really be playing too aggressive with medivacs here, because he's going to lose his medivacs, hence he'll lose his Viking count because he'll have to replenish. I'm right now waiting for Cass to throw down the 2nd Engineering Bay and Armory. If we do not see this come down soon, I think he's going to copy the innovation style and may just pull SCVs. He's got 3 starports coming in. The 2 starports with 3 Vikings per cycle, I think. He hasn't got a... Oh, he's building a reactor on it too, so 4 Vikings.
Wow, that's a lot of Vikings.
So he's looking like he's just going to pull SCVs soon for a good timing like we've seen so many a time recently.
Yeah, I think that's a really good read, because you just can't go toe-to-toe against a Protoss without, you know, those double engineering bays when your opponent is committing to double Forge and getting 2-2 now on the way as well. So he is going to rocket ahead in those upgrades if Cass isn't careful.
So how many Vikings do you think Cass goes with?
10, 12? Actually, wait, he's building 4 at a time. So if he goes with 12... Or you reckon he goes even higher and maybe it's like...
No, high is too late.
Yeah.
12 is fine.
All right, so StarDust, he spots the majority of his opponent's army. I don't think he quite knows about his opponent's Viking count, and he doesn't know about the second starport, so he has to be a little bit careful and suspicious about that very soon.
Yeah, I think that he's starting to realize, but I'm not 100% certain, because I've been watching the Observer, but it's only been looking at the army.
Yeah.
He hasn't seen the second starport, and he doesn't know about if there's an engineering bay or something down there. So I'm not certain if StarDust knows this is coming. But we have no Templar Archives down. The Colossus count is at 4. A 5th one has begun, and this is starting to become more and more popular. Here come the SCV pull. The Observer's seen it. Okay, so now he 100% knows. The Observer sees it, and now it's time to prepare. Additional gateway or a single gateway's been added on here. Maybe another one as well, but now it's time to defend.
And those 12 Vikings are out. There's more on the way as well to reinforce. He knows that he probably will end up losing some of these, but this engagement is going to be out relatively in the open. There's only 2 sentries here with full energy, so they do have quite a few force fields, but it's only going to be for like 1 or 2 rounds maximum. And then Cass now, he's almost maxed out. This is a lot of damage you could do, but a good time warp prevents that from actually moving forwards. The Vikings as well kill off 1 Colossus. They're going to get a second, trying to micro back against all these Zealots. This is a lot of firepower that Cass has.
This is perfect. This is execution at its finest from Empire Cass.
It really, really is, and putting on so much pressure against StarDust. StarDust now, army supply, 52 against 113. What are you going to do, StarDust? Not a whole lot. You need to have clairvoyance to be able to deal with this and actually deal massive, massive damage to it.
And Cass looks like he may be able to pick up map number 1 here. He's destroyed all the gateway units left. There's just about to destroy them. The Colossus on the high ground is going to get picked off as well, and Cass takes a superior upgraded, not upgrade, but army advantage. 2-2 is done here, but it's not enough. GG.
Geez.
And Cass, copying a style from the best.
From Mr. Innovation. That was
nailing it. Nailing it.
That was really, really well done there by Cass. Again, dealing with that kind of play, I keep coming back to, wanting Storm against that and trying to shut it down with Storm, but getting to that point as a Protoss player is easy to say, but hard to really do when you're getting Colossi as well and mixing everything in.
Yeah, and Cass picks up map number 1 there. Good start for him, because he comes into this group, I probably feel, with more nerves than most of them, because I think Firecake's going to be like, nobody's expecting me to move on, I can just do whatever. MC is MC, doesn't get nervous, he's just the boss toss and just dominates everything he tries to do. And then StarDust, I think, is probably feeling confident enough to be able to beat Cass here, and then whatever happens against MC would feel... Of course, he's a dominator when it comes to playing against Zerg, so I think he'd destroy Firecake. As well as Firecake played, I think StarDust he's won his tournament on versus Zerg.
Yeah.
So I really think he's going to come into that playing well. But this is a good start for Empire Cass. Well done, good start, but can he continue that start?
We'll see. Our next map is going to be Belshire Vestige here. So once again, back to good old Belshire Vestige for map number 2. And, I was not expecting Cass to bring out that strong a timing. It was very, very good. Very, very impressively, very sharp.
Yep.
I say timing. We were going for that previously.
Yeah.
But it's what Terrans find most comfortable right now, and it works in spades. Absolute spades. What
do you think you would say to StarDust if you had the chance to say something to him now and he would listen to you?
I like Protoss players trying to go down the Templar Archive route a bit more than the Colossus route earlier on, but that has its own weaknesses as well. Again, we kind of alluded to this yesterday. It's a strategy game. There's a lot of weaknesses and strengths for a lot of things. But I like the route of Templar Archives. How about yourself?
So just you'd say like open up instead of Colossus Templar Archives and take it from there?
And try and, it's harder to get the third base, I would say, down at a particular timing like that. But how about yourself, Mr. Apollo?
That's a good approach, what you're saying to him. But the problem with it, I guess, and if I was thinking along the lines, if that was my starting point to work off a strategy with, I'd say that if that's the case, and if Cass scouts that, then the Viking SCV port all-in changes to Ghost SCV all-in.
Yeah.
So it is, again, very difficult to deal with. So I'm not sure if I'd say that to him, but what I would say is maybe just try and not take the third as fast. Because on that map as well, the third base that was taken was out in the open, but that is the choice of him to try and get it early because it's easier defendable earlier on, but harder later on, because obviously he has to fight in the open. But if it's the back one, he could fight in a closed up area, which is better for the Colossus. I would say in this next game coming up on Belcher Vestige, if he was to face the same part again, play the same but without the third base as early. More units, more focus on 2 base rather than 3, and take it from there.
All right.
I don't think grabbing the third was the smartest of things there, against what we saw from Cass.
Yeah, it was a tough one. That certainly created an awkward situation for him. But now, jumping into game number 2, as we have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner. Currently 1 game down in this opening best of 3 for him in the final group of the round of 32. He is StarDust. And up to the top left-hand corner, our Red Terran, representing Empire as well as Russia, doing well in the first game. He is Cass.
All right, so Cass, good start for him here. Of course, do remember, guys, that well, I'm pretty sure you already know that Roccat is sponsoring the World Championship Series here in Europe, and you do have that chance to win that mouse. So that mouse, which is the one you can see on screen, you can get the chance to win it if all you need to do is go to Twitter and just make sure to hashtag WCS, which you should be doing anyway if you're talking about WCS on Twitter.
Yes, you should.
And then just include the hashtag Roccat, which is ROCCAT, as you can see on screen, and then just send in your predictions for who will finish second in this group. Of course, if you are just tuning in now, we saw MC win 2-0 over Firecake in the first game of the evening, and now this is the second game. So we will be going into the winners after. And that will be a good one, no matter what. MC against StarDust or Cass, I would like to see. But for now, as you can see, we are in this game. The game number 2 is StarDust and Cass. I'm just kind of thinking still more what StarDust is going to do different. I think he's going to open up the same. I don't think he can try a Colossus all-in. He may, though. He may, because Cass may play a little bit different, but if Cass plays the same, you know, these are the things that both players will think about as what I'm thinking about now.
Yeah. Take my suggestion of going for Storm and then change it a little bit and say you do what a lot of Protoss did in the past and going for Robo Bay with 1 Colossus, no range. Obviously, you end up having your opponent scout that out and trying to see that, but then behind it, you're going for Storm. Does that have any validity to it here?
If you trick him to build in 12 Vikings, yeah, it does, yeah.
well, yeah. That certainly could be there on the cards.
But to be honest, how often did Cass scout after that initial Reaper?
Not a whole lot. Never, actually. Did he? I don't think he saw a damn thing. So, Cass, I don't anticipate him changing up too much.
You think you just go for the same SCV pull again, hoping that StarDust doesn't know how to stop it?
Well, I think that, you know, if he sees his opponent having a third base at a similar timing, then he probably could. I think that he would go for something like that. It's harder to break, though, on a map like Belcher Vestige, I would say.
A little bit harder, yeah. A little bit harder. Well, if the third base was in a different spot on the last map, I think it isn't as hard as what it seemed to be in that one. But we'll see what is possible here from StarDust. Just 1 gate expansion again. Second gas now taken after the expansion. I'm quite positive we'll see the Robo Forge again. Yeah. It depends, because he may not go for the Forge earlier on if he sees that this is a command center first. There's obviously the great advantage of getting, and he has seen the command center first, there is a great advantage of getting the upgrades down early, but also you don't necessarily have to grab the early Forge. What happens if he grabs the earlier Robotics Bay and starts to focus more on faster Colossus production and then maybe goes for a Colossus timing of his own? There's different angles to go through, and I'm just going to wait and see which one he chooses.
We're racking our brains to figure out what they're going to do, but we'll see as they unfold before our eyes. And it is going to be the Robo facility at the very beginning, but this is just the normal standard go-to here for StarDust. It's really where he changes it up from here. It's very, very important.
Cass, just normal. Command center, 3 barracks. We'll see a tech lab on one of them very shortly, so we can actually start up towards his stim. And Cass has gone completely naked and blind when it comes to... That sounds actually really bad.
Kind of does. Naked and blind.
Naked and blind. He's blindfolded.
Stumbling around.
And naked. But he's gone for the robotics facility and the forge here, StarDust. But Cass is just playing his own game. So when you play your own game from this point, you get stim, and then usually with the next 100 gas you get, if he doesn't want to add a second tech lab, which is kind of weird, it's a little bit against the norm. We just see the factory come down, but he's actually got a pretty fast engineering bay. He's got Marines inside the main base. This is what you have to do as a Terran player if you don't scout. He's got the Marines in the main base in case there's an Oracle that randomly flies in. He's got a fast engineering bay for a fast turret on the natural in case there's DTs, and then he's just gone up to his factory timing with that next 100 gas. So very clean all-round build coming out from Cass. StarDust, Robo, and Forge, but where does he go next? Does he throw down that robotics bay with the 200 gas he's about to have banked up? Twilight Council. Okay, so he's opened up exactly the same so far.
Yeah, so far so well. I was going to say so far so good, depending on how you want to look at the game number 1. I mean, his opening was fine and it worked out all right, but the changes that actually happened later on in the game was something that kind of put him on the back foot. And Empire Cass here, he's still not scouting out.
Look at this. StarDust has taken an even faster third base.
Wow.
Very, very fast. That's his adjustment.
All right. Can that
Much
work
faster.
out?
It's actually faster than I've seen him do it before.
Can this work?
Absolutely. If he defends well with Blink, yeah.
All
It
right.
can work, yeah. It just needs really, really good defense here. Remember, Cass is playing kind of safe all round. He's played a very generic opening. With the fast engineering bay, the turret down.
I mean, he has to, right? With no scouting.
He's seen nothing. He's just trying to defend against everything.
He knows this observer's here. He's positioned right underneath it. He just doesn't have energy for a scan.
Yeah, he will get rid of that soon enough. And then we got double tech labs from Cass for double marauders, the reactor for the Marines, the starport coming in. So just a very all-round build here from Cass. But what we're seeing from StarDust is not the fastest of fast thirds, but it's still pretty decent, where if he can defend well with Blink and a Colossus or two, but the problem is with StarDust is he will be lower on units than you would be usually at this point. So he really, really needs to make sure that his defense and units are in the right position. I mean, that means Stalkers maybe in the main base, the Mothership Core floating between the main and natural, so he can float an overcharge in 2 places depending on where the attacks come from, and then also needs to make sure he has enough units towards the third base.
Cass is going to be a little sad once he tries to land that factory over at the third and realizes that it's there, so that's a bit annoying for him. Actually, seemingly he doesn't realize that Observer's there. So Cass just moving out into the middle of the map. Oh, I think now he did, but it's in too hard a position to really try and snipe out. And the 2 medevacs have been spotted, so StarDust knows exactly how this is going to try and hit. He just has to prepare himself once again.
Yeah, so far for Cass, it looks like he's playing exactly the same, even to the T of the extra barracks and the add-ons and the reactors.
Yeah.
Third command center coming down, and so far it looks like he may try to go for that SCV pull again. We'll keep tabs on if he continues to upgrade his units. He is missing +1 armor at the moment, which is something of concern. But here we have double drops inside the main base. The Mothership Core's not too far away, but this is an open area. It's going to drop in and may not even be spotted. Okay, it is going to be spotted. But then there's all the ground units as well in the middle of the map too.
Well, he's sending a pylon over at that third base, but at the same time killing off a few zealots. And whoa, that Colossus has to be careful. Losing that, does end up saving it. That was close. That was really, really close.
But still, Cass got the better trade-off there. Killed a lot of zealots and a stalker for nothing really. He lost like a Marine.
And this is going to end up getting scary if StarDust doesn't change things at all. Cass's SCV pull last game and just his macro in general, he hit 200 of 200 supply so quickly against in exactly the same style that StarDust playing, aside from obviously that's the slightly quicker Nexus.
Well, even a cannon coming down into the main base to help out again. He knows that he has to defend. There's a lot of units towards the third here, so it looks like Cass is trying to get into 2 locations. Can StarDust defend 2 locations?
Well, he has to be careful about those Colossi again, though. They do have thermal lance, but at the same time, they do not have that much ground force supporting them. Little micro back over at this right-hand side, though, killing off Zealot after Zealot. Resources lost, not too bad here for Cass. And again, the supply count's pretty much in favor of him, and he's adding on that second starport. Is this starport a little bit later than last game?
Yes, it is later. He was focusing very heavily on his drop, so that is something that isn't quite the same previously. But Cass is doing so well. He picks off the Mothership Core inside the main base, boosts out, and unfortunately for StarDust, this early third base is simply just not working. Compared to the previous game, he had, 2-2 on the way. He has just one forge at the moment, kind of listening into the second armor. Cass has started his Viking production. He is going to go for another SCV pull, just like we saw. And, well, this time I don't think it's going to even come close to defending it.
StarDust is going to have to land some amazing force shields, and even then the Vikings are just going to start to work straight onto these Colossi, and there's going to be another, a good 12 of them to actually bring those down. So Cass has a lot of power behind him in this series. I'm very, very impressed.
Yeah, StarDust's greedy build just is not working for him here. And it's a little bit sad because right now Cass has just brought all his units back. He says, all right, my window of opportunity to harass is gone. Because he has Stalkers and Blink, he's mined enough where he can probably defend across these 3 bases. But what we're going to see now is Cass pull in the next 30 seconds to 60. Templar Archives is trying to get built. There's a lot of gas income across 3 bases, so obviously that's going to be very, very nice here. But Cass is looking so strong.
At the same time, though, there's the engineering bay as well as armory. I'm kind of surprised by that. Isn't that just like an overcommittal to something that's not going to be used if he just kills his opponent right now?
Yeah.
I think he should just steamroll him. I mean,
he's saying I don't need to put all my SCVs because I've done so well in the game that I already have a large enough army. He's only brought like 6 SCVs with his army. It's not even anything, to be honest.
Yeah, he's at 70 workers to 63, so StarDust has been completely picked apart here in this game. And once again, Cass, a 200 supply to 147. A lot of that is in the army. A big, big chunk of that is in the army.
Yeah, and if the Colossus fall, then the Marauders Marines will kill everything here. Yeah. Absolutely everything.
Drops the scan, knows where his opponent's positioning is. That factory lured him into a really, really bad spot. Sets himself up a nice concave. Those Colossi at the back, one of them will go down very, very quickly here. And the 2 more are very, very weak in the same time. This bio just killing Stalker after Stalker so fast. There's not enough ground force here at all for StarDust.
No, and this is one-sided. Both games.
The destroyer of worlds just destroyed StarDust. In a very, very impressive 2-0.
Yeah, didn't even need SCV pulls that game. He did so much damage earlier on with the units that he was dropping in the main and the third that this was so much easier for him. And as you can see, he picks up a 2-0 over StarDust, and now we'll move on to play against SKMC in the winners match, who I guarantee you would have watched these games and is preparing for a couple of SCV pulls. So all the Protoss players right now should be rejoicing because they should be like, yeah, we lost, but now MC's going to show us the light.
The way. Can he show us the way? And I think, all our theorizing before, how do you deal with this SKMC? Does he come along and show everyone that light at the end of the tunnel?
I think he will.
All right, guys. Well, join us after the commercial break, and we will find out who moves on to the round of 16 first. Is it going to be SKMC, or is it going to be Empire Cass?
Precision with a true 8200 DPI Pro Aim laser sensor. Get pure speed with a 32-bit Turbo Core V2 processor. Get pure command power with the Easy Shift button duplicator. Get pure atmosphere with a 16.8 million color lighting system. Rocket Cone Pure.